Greetings and welcome. This is Dr. A, and you know what do we always say? Welcome to RoadTripja, the heartbeat of Jamaica's road. Yes, it has been a long time since we have said that, and I just want to say we're still here. And we want to thank those who have been our loyal subscribers and have been enjoying the content from the past. Our content dynamics will be changing. Don't worry about it. You will see some new updates as time allows. But we have been working on some bigger, more meaningful and impacting projects. So today is just a simple uh, expoundment on the situation that has taken place. We have seen a tropical situation, a tropical system that has passed Hurricane BERYL, that they classified it as, and that there was something for us as Jamaicans to learn some valuable lessons from. Do you know what my friends in China were calling me to tell me while persons in Jamaica were concerned about the system that was developing? They were calling me to tell me about how many women they were preparing to impregnate. Can you believe that? Do you know what my friends in Russia were saying to me? They were saying that the weather is cold and they were enjoying it and they were glad they were in Russia. Do you know what my friends in England were saying? Even though I don't subscribe to the British monarchy, they were saying that it seems as though things are good over this side for this season, even though it's cold. Do you know what my friends in the United States were saying? They were saying, well, you can't have your cake and eat it. But that is what they were saying. But what were you saying while you were there on the ground? Let us put things into perspective. And we know it's a situation that many damages have been done, but this was also a learning opportunity for all of us. What we can come to realize is that the infrastructure in Jamaica is far from the robustity that it once ailed, that it once had, that it was once known for. We have come to realize that monopoly exists in the country. And you know that monopolies can only exist by government sanctions. And as such, we have the JPS monopoly. We have almost the telecommunication monopoly, but it's not a monopoly because of the license restriction between the OUR. So we have a duopoly, which means that there are two forces that are allowed to operate exclusively in the country, which in my eyes is still a monopoly because there is no market pricing that is taking place. It is just based on what the two companies come together to say what is the lowest we can charge to make these people think that they're making a bargain when we are still reaping in the profit. So that there is for the telecommunication sector in Jamaica. We know that the JPS is a monopoly, and the fun thing about the JPS is not a Jamaican company. And I want you to bear that in mind as well. They have been providing light for the country. Yes, they have been doing a good job to a degree. We can say yes to that in some parts. In other parts, it is less than ideal. But that is how the system is designed. Where there is more cash flow coming in, then those areas are better service. And for those areas where there is the alleged allegation of taking lighting without the proper payment, those areas have been blackbarred, blacklisted, and restricted in some regards. But that is not what we're talking about either. We also have another monopoly that exists, which is the water system, the National Water Commission. and that there is a government-owned entity, which is a step in the right direction. And this system provides one of the cleanest waters in the world. So Jamaica still has the cleanest water in the world. It is better than a lot of the water that is available in the United States. In the United States, if I tell you how many persons get water, you will be baffled. The water that comes out of the tap in many areas is the water from the fecal matter. Yes, so you go to the toilet, you defecate, you urinate, you have diarrhea, you have all kind of nasty excrements coming out of you. That water that is run into the sewer system is filtered, especially in California. It is ridiculous. So they filter and distill this water and they send it right back to the taps, and people are drinking that. So yes, the water contains medication. Yes, the water contains different pesticides. Yes, the water in the United States is not one of the best waters to be consuming, and the water in different parts of the world also are not one of the best waters to be consuming. So Jamaican water infrastructure is still top tier. So we have to have our hands down to that. And that is something that I don't want to change anytime soon or even ever. So let's get back to the learning experience from the infrastructural damages that have taken place and also the systematic crumbling that almost took place in the country of Jamaica after a tropical situation developed into Hurricane BERYL. The banking sector was crippled in some regards, in which they decided that it was in our best interest that they shut down the ATMs. So if you are in a tight jam, you can't exchange cash. I want you to understand what I'm trying to present to you, that things are not always as they seem. There is more at play, and with the natural disasters, with situations of importance or urgency, it proved to us that we have to reposition ourselves, especially as Jamaicans. So the banks closed, you couldn't access your own money, they restricted transfers. So that put persons in a predicament. So can you imagine if it was pay week? Ooh, some persons may not have been able to get paid. And when you have money to come in that didn't come in, they charge you interest for a late payment that they systematically put in place, so that you, and then you now have to challenge that. So you see all these obstacles that are existing in the natural design of the system in the country. But I don't want you to have any fear, because it doesn't get any better. There are other systems that are worse. But what to do? Let us talk about the learning experience. So, from this whole system, we realized that the Jamaica Public Service, the JPS system, it went down. In some areas, some persons were without light for extended period, even though the storm was not that great. But to protect their resources, they had to put the power lines offline, which we are grateful for them for doing. The reason why we want them to put the power lights off is just peradventure there is some grounding not taking place properly, or there is some situation in which someone may be inadvertently caught up, they could be electrocuted. So to reduce the chances of electrocution, then that was done. So we are thankful for them for doing that. However, the process in restoring power, it took too long. People are still without power 3 days later. And we know that there's some roads that are impassable. We understand all of that, but majority of the island should have been with power. The rural areas, we know that much precedence has been set in which those areas are disenfranchised and they are sometimes left out of the bigger picture. So we understand those situations and they don't have enough manpower to go and tackle those areas. So that's out the way. Now, let us talk about the infrastructure in terms of your personal home, your property. Many persons came to the realization that the structural foundation of their property is as dismal as their relationship with their wife, in that their foundation was shaky. And if your foundation is shaky, it means that something is wrong. If this mild system was positioned to the degree that it was able to shake your foundation, it means that probably the foundation was not properly developed. It means that probably your marriage relationship needs a re-foundation. So you have to decide if you want to just think about the physical infrastructure as you can see in the terrain of the roads, the highway, Southern Coastal Highway being damaged, or you can see the flat bridge area overflowing its bank, whatever infrastructural damages, people's rooftop flying off. But the good thing about Jamaicans are always hardworking. And I saw a lady on her rooftop sitting on that zinc because she is saying that I am not running down any zinc. So what the zinc was trying to blow off, and she was sitting. Yes, she's a big lady, maybe about 450 pounds. Yes, she was sitting on her zinc because she was adamant that her zinc was not going anywhere. And I must tell you that she was able to save the zinc, save the rooftop, but with assistance from other younger and able-bodied young men to nail the remaining zinc in place so that they could hold firm. So what I want you to do is to put measures in place to safeguard your property, safeguard your houses, safeguard your land, and safeguard your livestock, especially those goats. Please protect the goats. The chicken, you have to probably design a coop that can be housed inside a house. And that way, you know that your chicken will be all right. They will be warm and dry. All right? So for your goats, safeguard them, keep them warm and dry as well. And let us learn so that if another system should develop in this region, we will be better prepared. Every year we have the same situation, the same problem, the same challenges. I think that now is time for us to learn from these difficult situations and put measures in place to protect our property and to protect the people around us. Now, the water system was phenomenal. In most areas, water was not turned off, which we're grateful to the National Water Commission for doing that. And the team there has been doing a great job. The the National Works Agency, NWA, we have realized that pre the system, the roads were flooded with garbage. I want to know if it is the fact that the garbage was not collected, or was it that everybody got so excited that they dumped the garbage in the roads and in the gullies, why we had so much unnecessary flooding taking place. That is just something for us to look into as Jamaicans. And my biggest gripe with this whole situation was the banks shutting down and the inability to access the funds that you have in your bank account. And people may be saying, but it's a natural disaster. You won't be able to buy or sell. Does this look like the mark of the beast? Because that is what I thought was happening. Because if I can't buy and sell and I can't access my money in my account, then something is wrong. And this is giving us a look into what is to come. One of my biggest concern was that the prime minister or the ruler of the governance structure in the local area in Jamaica, the representative of the Queen, indicated that there was a curfew and you should stay home. So there was a curfew in whose best interest? I'm not saying anything. I am not adding fuel to fire. I am just presenting to you what I have observed. So I want to ask a question to the Jamaican people. Are you truly free or are you just experiencing the illusion of freedom? There are a lot of lessons that we should learn from this, especially as it comes on to these infrastructural deficiencies. How are you going to light your house the next time? Are you going to rely exclusively on JPS or are you going to go solar? Don't even think about the inefficiencies of solar. If you have alternative energy concepts in your mind, even if it may be a little radioactive, let us know so that we can investigate them to see if they are more beneficial than solar. Because solar is not as efficient as people want you to believe it to be. It can catch the energy, yes, but it wastes a lot of space and for the input of energy, it's not the most ideal. A wind farm would produce better energy efficiency than solar in most regards. However, the system design is even more cumbersome for the wind farm. So we just have to look into other alternative. So if you know of an alternative energy source that can give us a sense of independence, so that's when we have natural disasters, just let us know so we can see if we can explore them to see how better we can position our people to not be so dependent on the Jamaican public service. Did you realize that many of the local vloggers were unable to stream when their phone battery died? That was because they didn't have any power. And not only that, in some areas, the internet, how can the internet service go down? That is where our duopoly, the telecommunication giants, had a little blunder. How can, in a natural disaster, we have limited or restricted access to communicating with the outer world? So, one thing, the internet may have been up for some, but guess what? The power was no longer there and they used up all the charge on their phone. So they were out of power. They didn't have any power banks. For those who had the phones, they didn't have any internet connectivity to transmit information. So they had to go back to old school SMS. So you have to position yourself. What can you do in the next natural disaster to safeguard yourself, safeguard your family? How can the Jamaican government position themselves so that the infrastructural damage will not be as great or as significant? What is it that they are doing right and what is it that they're doing wrong? Just let me know in the comments. So this is just one take that we're taking. We're not going by any script because we don't believe in scripting things and presenting a facade or an illusion of what we want to present. We can say what we desire to say because we are not a paid puppet. So that is just what we want to indicate right now. So if you're watching this, please feel free to share this with your family, your friends, so that they can have some laughter, some entertainment. And if you found value, just hit the subscribe button so that we can share this with more people. And don't forget, you can also share this with your friends and your family. I don't know if you're going to be watching the long form, which you can see majority of my upper body, and or the short form, whichever form that you are watching. I hope that the visual pleasure will be there for you. If you're watching the vertical video, we're using a 16 millimeter lens at this time, and the information of the equipment that we're using will be in the description if you want to know that information. I made it available for you. And if you're watching the horizontal video, then you can also get that information because it's the same camera that we're using. But for the horizontal, the lens that we're using is one of the worst lenses that I've ever used on a camera, and this is the Sony, the 3.5 to 5.6, 16 to 50 millimeters lens, and this is the stock lens that comes with the Sony ZV-E10 cameras. So if you want this information, you can click the links and do whatever it is that entices you. But we're going to go and think about other ways that we can better the Jamaican economy and better design plans to enhance Jamaica while we explore how life in Jamaica really is. Especially, many persons just see the videos of what Jamaica is like, but they don't really understand that Jamaica is actually a real place. They don't understand the struggles that the Jamaican people have. They don't understand the inefficiencies that exist in Jamaica, and they don't understand how challenging life is in Jamaica. With all that said, Jamaica is still one of the best places that I've ever experienced in my course of travel. And for all Jamaicans, anyone listening, when you are a Jamaican, you have never left Jamaica, you think Jamaica is a bad place. But for every young person, I want you to just take a year off from school, leave Jamaica, go to a different country, or spend a few weeks in a different country, and then you realize that Jamaica is just a dot on the map. And for those persons who are overseas, always looking at a nice view of Jamaica, the experience that tourists has when they come to Jamaica is different from the experience that you have when you live in Jamaica. When you live in Jamaica, the experience is way better than when you just come and experience the hotel of that realm of safety. That is good if you are apprehensive, but in the grand scheme of things, the experience is way better when you are actually living with the locals, going to the market, enjoying the food, going on the farms, and sharing in conversation, not wearing any top, in your short shorts, and just allowing the sun to bask on your body. You're not even combing your hair because you know that nobody cares. So that is the real Jamaica. You don't have to put on makeup because you know that most of those makeup having semen, having placental body fluid, having all kind of chemical in the form of fragrances, having all kind of toxic dust. So you're not even putting on any makeup. You don't have to wear makeup when you're in Jamaica. Because guess what? You're going to sweat that off anyway, right? And even the ones with the water repellent that they say it will keep the sweat in. Think to yourself, why would you want to keep that sweat in? And the sweat is a way for the body to excrete the toxins. Why would you want to keep the toxin in? That is why most persons who wear makeup have these pits and craters in their face and on the areas where they wear the makeup, but on the other parts of the body it looks pretty normal because the toxins are being covered layer by layer. So you just have to be very mindful. But Jamaica is still one of the nicest places in the world to be. But it doesn't mean that if you are in Jamaica, you shouldn't explore other places. I want each individual, if you have the opportunity, explore countries outside of Jamaica. You can use your passport. Let me see if I can find my passport. I usually always have my passport because I don't know when I'm going to have to take another flight. So this is my passport. Hopefully it shows good. So I always have that right beside me for form of identification, and because I know that I can be called away at any time, I have to have that ready. So I just encourage you, and I wish you all the best in the aftermath of BERYL. I know that this is just a talking conversation, but I hope that you had some fun. And yes, this is kids friendly content that we produce on RoadTripja, the heartbeat of Jamaica's road. We're going to try to be as objective as possible. But if I have my biases or I have my own perspective outside of the confines of the statistical data, which indicates the statistical significance, then I will project that by presenting it first so that you can understand the premise from which I'm coming from. So until next time, walk, ride, drive, and fly good. Signing out from RoadTripja is Dr. A.